What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Masters Fantasy Show, brought to you by MastersFantasyFootballLeagues.com. My name's Jonathan. Joining me today, as always, the Doc, Dynasty Owl. We're the Masters crew. What's up, guys? How you doing?
Doing great.
Yeah, doing real good.
Yep, good to hear. As always, thank you guys so much for being here. Love to have you on the show. One thing I wanted to pass along before we jump into today's episode, playoff league starting in 2 weeks. Monday, January 10th, going to run all the way up until kickoff, a wild card weekend that Saturday. Definitely come check those out. MastersFantasyFootballLeagues.com. Some of the funnest leagues we run for sure. Some of the most popular leagues we run. I mean, we run them from, noon to midnight every night. Basically a couple every hour. Guys love them, so definitely come check those out. That's not what we're here to talk about today. Going to be talking about the Dynasty Waiver Wire Championship Week. Congratulations to you guys that made it in. It's also time to be dropping some dead weight, making a move to make your roster look better for 2022. I actually don't know if this guy's a good pickup or not. I think by the numbers he is. I can't wait to get your guys' opinion on him. And I'm just going to toss out a couple numbers first. And that's from weeks 12 to week 16, the last 5 weeks of the season. He's wide receiver 29 in the NFL. Just to give you a couple guys he's outscoring currently, the last 5 weeks of the season, we got Darnell Mooney, Amari Cooper, Mike Evans, DK Metcalf, Michael Pittman. And he's done all that with 0 touchdowns. And I actually throw that out not as a knock on him. I think it's kind of a unique situation because I don't think that team has scored a throwing touchdown in the last 8 weeks of the season. I'm pretty sure. I don't even know if that's ever happened before. The guy's a former first-round pick, number 23.
Zach, do you know?
The last 5 weeks, 22 catches for 300 yards. Like I said, 29th overall. Also linked to a young stud quarterback who's struggling. Just going to toss his name out there, Laquon Treadwell.
He's
a guy that, he just popped on my radar a couple of weeks. I seen he had a couple double-digit points in back-to-back weeks. Picked him up. He's had at least 4 catches in every game. Like I said, 26 years old, hooked up with, maybe a great quarterback, maybe the worst quarterback in the league. I'm not sure yet, and Trevor Lawrence. But you know what? I'm just looking at it. Is this like a Corey Davis situation? Is this a guy that's worth picking up? I'll be honest, Laquon has never really done much since being drafted with the Minnesota Vikings. Still 26 years old, still a first-round pick. Marvin Jones, 32 years old. He's outscored him. He's been the number 1 wide receiver on their team for the last 5 weeks. So I'm just curious, man. Is this guy worth picking up? Your guys' thoughts? And I'll be honest, he's not a guy that, we didn't do Dynasty rookie spotlights on him. I never watched a ton of them. I do know he was a first-round pick when he came in, to the fantasy draft that year. So I'm just curious your guys' thoughts, man. I picked him up. Week after week, he's done it. Is this guy worth picking up, or am I wasting a roster spot?
I mean, it's hard to say. I don't know. I've always kind of liked him. I don't know why. Even when
because he wore a backwards hat at his pro day.
Probably. I mean, he was just so awesome, and especially in college, he was just so cool.
He was.
But I mean, I don't know. I feel like he's benefiting a lot from injury, obviously. I don't know. It's hard to say though. I mean, you never know. We've seen so many guys that it seems like they're a bust and are never going to pan out, turn it around. So, I mean, hey, maybe it's worth taking a shot on the talent. I mean, he was a first-round pick. I mean, I don't hate it. I really don't.
Yeah, and I'll be curious, because when I asked you this weekend, I told you I was thinking about starting him. And, I mean, you threw out start Scotty Miller so quick that, I was like, because I'm like, man, am I wasting my time with this guy? And then,
I'm sure he did better than Scotty Miller.
I didn't end up starting him. Basically because of the text. It didn't hurt me. He only had another 4 for 60-yard games. But I mean, 29th overall. I'm just curious, Dynasty Owl, your thoughts? No love for Laquon Treadwell?
So I do. And I feel like I'm a sucker for the first-round wide receivers who don't pan out. Like, if I believed in the talent then, I still kind of believe in it now a little bit. And I did like Laquon Treadwell. I mean, I was a little worried he was a little slow, and all the doubt that started kind of creeping around draft time. And obviously he's been a bust so far. But I mean, I don't know. In the right situation, I still think there are plenty of reasons he was a first round pick. He was dominant at Ole Miss. Was kind of AJ Brown before AJ Brown was AJ Brown. So like, I don't hate it. And you mentioned Trevor Lawrence, and yeah, it hasn't looked great so far, but that might change. And to me, it just depends on how deep the roster. A lot of our traditional Masters leagues, with just 20 guys, I don't know if he'd quite make it. But in deeper Dynasty leagues, yeah, I do like it a lot. I just think it comes down to the numbers on how many spots you have.
Yeah, and I just think by the numbers, he's creeping into that being worth rostered in 20-man league.
Yeah.
I guess
Right.
just long term, by the numbers, he should have been rostered the last 5 weeks and started over plenty of guys, or even borderline at 29. If you're starting 2 in every league, that's 24. So he was a borderline start for sure the last 5 weeks. But like I said, I
Right.
started adding a little bit of, and I just want to add, you brought up the injuries. I know DJ Shark's been hurt, but I mean, who knew what was going to happen with Shark to begin with?
Right.
I mean, he's done that with Jones and LaVisca on the field, for most of those games, who neither one of them have looked great. I'm
Yeah.
actually worried about LaVisca just overall, like his talent, how he's going to pan out. So, I mean, I'm just saying, and I do think Jacksonville, a team that's going to have to make a ton of upgrades on offense. Like, to me, I think, there's some splashes coming over the next couple of years. But if it's not going to be, I mean, maybe them guys they're looking for aren't going to come to Jacksonville. Maybe they, don't pick up a ton of free agents. And I also think there's an opportunity where Trevor Lawrence gets a lot better in a second.
Oh, yeah.
And if that happens, this guy continues. I mean, through 5 weeks, he's been his number 1 wide receiver. If that happens, I just think he will be worth a pickup at that point for sure. I'm just trying to get ahead of the curve on him. Maybe was curious about your guys' opinion on Laquon Treadwell. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I also
like
do like, oh yeah, go ahead, Al.
Oh, no, I was going to say, yeah, like I said, I like it. I like, taking those flyers on first round picks who didn't quite pan out first time around. Surprised I'm not rostering Corey Coleman in any of my leagues anymore.
Right.
I had him everywhere.
I will say I have seen a lot of like Jaguars fans and fantasy people on Twitter talk a lot of mess on the Jaguars receiving core and saying that maybe the future of some of these guys like Shark would be up in the air. And obviously Marvin Jones is older and probably not going to be there very much longer. So yeah, I mean, I'm seeing the path, Commish. I can see it.
Me too. And like I said, it's a deep dive. And even if you don't pick them up this week, all I'm saying is keep an eye out on them, or also keep an eye out on them early next season. Kind of see what happens in Jacksonville. If they don't make any big moves, maybe if just one guy walks away, there's a chance this guy comes out next season as the number 1 wide receiver for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And hopefully Trevor Lawrence can turn it around. I picked him up quite a bit on like 3-4 dynasty teams, and I'm actually scratching my head. I will say this. Shout out to my team in PTP 5. I won with Lawrence as my starting quarterback this week.
Wow. Nice.
You guys have there's no good quarterbacks. I picked up Huntley. He didn't play. I'm like, you know what? I'm rolling with Lawrence and crossing my fingers. So
impressive.
All right, guys.
You got to give it to him.
Good stuff as always. You guys at home, thanks for watching. If you could hit the like and subscribe button. Love for you to come be a part of the Masters family. Any last words, guys?
Thanks for listening.
Good stuff.